Okay, so today we're going to look at division, and I want to specifically talk to you about a strategy called partial quotients. So, this is taking the division problem if it was 385 divided by 5, and then we're going to place it under the little house, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a long line down. And I'm actually going to start looking at this like, how can I have 5 just go into 385? I know in the past maybe you've learned like I'm going to go 5 into 3. It doesn't go into 3, so I need to go into 38. That's a different strategy called the standard algorithm. What we're going to do is look at partial products. So I want to think about how can I just get a number that's big and closer to 385. So maybe I think about, I know that 5 goes into 100, and that's kind of big. So I'm going to think, how many times can 5 go into 100? And I'm going to say 20 times. So I'm going to write that over here and say 20 times. So then I would multiply 20 times 5, and that would equal 100. And then I would subtract it from 385. So I know that that's 5, 8, 285. Okay, well, we're getting there. So I'm going to try that again. I'm going to say 5 times 20 because really I'm just trying to get this number as low as possible. So 5 times 20, and that gives me another 100. And so then I'm going to subtract that again, and I get 185. And we are getting closer, and 20 seems to be working, so I'm going to use 20 again. 5 times 20, that gives me another 100. And then I'm down to 85. And then I'm just going to keep adding here. Okay, so I can't do that again because it would be too big. So 5 times 20 would be 100. That's too big. And so I guess I'm going to do 5 times 10. Or even, I don't know, I know my 12, so maybe 5 times 12. And that would give me 60. 5 times 12 is 60. And then when I subtract this, I get 25. And then I can go 5 goes into 25 how many times? 5 times. And then I subtract it out. I want to get down to 0. And I did. So now all I have to do is add all of these partial quotients over here together to get my answer. So 20 plus 20 plus 20 is 60. Plus 12 would be 72. Plus 5 is 77. So my answer is 77. I could always go back over here and check my work by multiplying out these two numbers to make sure it equals this number. And if I do 5 times 7, that's 35. I regroup. 5 times 7 is 35, and I added 3, and that's 385. And I got that one right. So that is one example of how to use partial quotients. Now, I didn't have to work with 20s. I could have worked with something smaller. I could have worked with 10s, but this is just an idea. Okay, we're going to try another problem. So now I'm going to work with 342 divided by 3. And again, I want to try to get, a high number so I can start kind of getting this number down. Well, it's nice to be able to work with like 5s and 10s and 100s. So I think I'm going to try 100 because I know that 100 times 3 will give me 300. And then I subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. So now I have 132. So now I can think, well, let's see. I don't know, 100 is going to be too big. I do know that 2 times 3 is 6, so maybe if I do times 20, so 20 times 3 is 60. And then I subtract, and I can, regroup here, and that will be 72. Okay, well that worked, and I know that 60 is close to 72, so I'm going to try 20 again. And so 3 times 20 is 60. And then I get 12. And then I know that 3 times 4 is 12. And then that's the answer. So I would add all of these together, 120, 140, and 144. And just to make sure, I'm going to multiply it out over here. So 4 times 3 is 12. I regroup, 13, and I get 432. That is correct. All right. So now we're going to try one more problem. I'm going to try a 2-digit divisor here. All right. So looking at this, again, I want to try to use multiples that's going to help me get a larger number. I know that if I use 50, maybe times 10, so 50 times 10 will give me 500, and that gives me a larger number to work with. I'm going to be left over with 426. Sometimes when I'm using 2-digit divisors, I start to look at what's in this place and what's over here in these first two place values, and I can start thinking, well, I know that 5 goes into 42 8 times, so maybe I can try 50 times 8. And so that would be 8 times 5 plus adding a 0 would give me 400. And then I get 6. And now I'm left over with 26. And 50 can't go into 26. So I know that this would be a remainder. So I add these together and I get 18, remainder 26. And then just to make sure, I'm going to multiply these two out. 18 times 50. And then I'm multiplying this out. I get 900, and then I add the remainder in there, and I get 926, and that matches this. Okay, so we are going to practice this using our book widgets today. Most of the problems have no remainder, but there are a few problems that have a remainder. But I want to show you how you will need to answer those questions. So you'll notice that in the book widget, it looks a little bit different. So it kind of gives away which ones have remainders will be these last three. Now, when you are typing this out, because this self-corrects, it auto-grades it. But if you don't write the answer in correctly, then it will mark it wrong. So no matter what the answer is, I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that it's 67 and it's a remainder 4. So as you'll see here, I typed 67 space lowercase r with the remainder right next to the r. If you do not type it in this way, it will mark it wrong even if you got it right and you work it out 5 times and you're like, I got it right, it's still marking it wrong. Well, you need to remember that it needs to be the number with the space, a lowercase r with the remainder right next to it. Okay, if you have any questions on how to complete division with partial quotients, let us know. Or if you have any problems with the remainders in the book widgets, let us know. All right, have fun.